Hey, it's Trueflight again. We're back here in the crew. This time we're in our 69 Camaro in performance spec. And figured I'm going to do a little run down the East Coast here and just talk about things I like and dislike about the game. I'm usually doing some event or another. And not actually have time to just really talk. So, you can see here we have our course out of New York City. Down the East Coast, most of this is I-95. Down into Miami. Actually, I have it set all the way to the Florida Keys. We were starting in Times Square there. I don't know if I showed around, but anyway. So, some of the things that I really like about this game, there's a decent selection of cars. They're still adding more, so that's kind of improving. I like the fact that they got both American muscle and foreign imports. Too many racing games nowadays are just Japanese street racing type cars or European exotics. It's nice to have a nice mix of both foreign and domestic cars, as well as muscle and I guess rice is the best term. But you have your street racing cars, your muscle cars, your exotics. There's so many variety as far as that goes. Number of vehicles is still down, but it's getting up there. The world map is another big one. It's freaking huge. Now, granted, it is very scaled down. We're going from New York City to Miami here, and it's only a 30-mile or so trip. Ooh, I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. But it still gives you that sense of scale where you can actually get out on the highway and drive and actually make progress and go somewhere. So I think if it was too big, like this trip in reality from New York to Miami, should be around a 15, 16-hour drive. Oh, I did not hit that. So, being it's scaled down, it's not going to take that long, obviously. So, there's that. It gives you that feeling that you're actually getting somewhere. So, the things that annoy me about the game are the biggest one is the chat system. There's an in-game chat, and I can understand on the console versions of the game, people don't have a keyboard handy. Chatting, oops, I was supposed to take that again. Chatting can get annoying without a keyboard, but everybody at a computer, whether you're playing with a controller or a wheel or not, you have a keyboard next to you. But nobody in the game ever chats, and that's not really the game's fault as much as the players. I've tried to carry on conversations with people. 99% of the time, nobody even answers you. People will come up next to you and rev their engine, honk their horn, want you to go do things, but nobody's willing to take the 2 seconds to actually bring up the chat window and talk about it. I usually turn my chat off when I'm recording videos, but it's easy enough to scroll on and off. It's there. You can see, actually, I was trying to talk to somebody at the Summit qualifier earlier and got no replies. That's kind of annoying. You used to be able to turn those off when you free roamed, and that doesn't work anymore. But that's probably my biggest complaint on anything. The limitation on how many people per instance is another one. It's getting better. They moved it up from what it used to be. I think it only used to be 8 players. That's what I get for driving on the shoulder. And now I believe it can go up to 16 or 20. I rarely ever see that many people in a single instance unless you're near a summit qualifier or things like that. A lot of times out in the salt flats people gather. This is the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. Interesting. I didn't even know this was here. And Yeah, the loading issue with the map that came back that they said they fixed. It's easy enough to pop up your map and back. Oh, and then it wrecks you. Things like that. The bugs are really annoying. The game's been out for over a year now, and there's bugs like that that have been around forever that they still haven't fixed. And that's totally on the company. Those ones, a lot of those came up when the graphic overhaul came with Wild Run, and for some reason every now and then it just seems like it forgets to load graphics. This computer here is running 16 gigabytes of memory with a 4 gigabyte graphics card and a 5 gigahertz processor. There's no reason that stuff in this game should not load. So it's obviously a programming error on their end. Another one that's come up a lot recently is the results pages after races not loading. And some of the faction missions do it. You do these long faction missions that take hours to complete, and then the game just hangs at the results screen, never loads the results, so you never get credit for it. When you load back in the game, it's like you never ran the mission. And they're seemingly random, so it's hard to find what ones it'll work on, what ones it won't. The Big D is one of my favorite ones, and it was perfectly fine. Wild Run came out, it did that constantly. Got my new machine, it was running perfectly fine again, and just a couple days ago it started doing it again for me. So I have no idea what causes that. They obviously don't either. I've had tickets in with support for months and they haven't been able to figure it out. And judging by the number of other people that have the issues on the forums too, it's not an isolated thing. Sometimes, especially in the rain, you get a horrible frame loss. Now part of that, if you see it in these videos, is usually... Oops. I barely even touched that guy. Part of that's due to me recording. The recorder tends to lower frame rates. But again, it's something that should not happen. This game is not that graphically intensive. That playing at 50 frames per second, there should not, or 60 frames a second, there should not be a noticeable drop in frame rate for anything in this game, unless you're running an older machine. The customer support from Ubisoft is absolutely horrible, and I'm sure anyone who's ever had to deal with them can vouch for that. Their first thing is always to ask for the same two files, which fine, they want to verify things. One of them they want is your Microsoft info file, which basically lists everything you're running at the time, everything that's crashed, everything that's hung. And I'm not sure how far back it goes, but there's a lot of information in there they do not need to know. But of course, they insist on getting that before they'll even help you. The other is a DX diagnostic file, which is pretty standard stuff. But you send them those two files, and then the very first thing they always post is to ask you to send them those files, even if you already sent them to them. So it gets really annoying because they don't even read what you post. They just cookie cutter, copy and paste the same exact response every time. Then when you do give them those, they'll give you some generic things. Verify your files. Yeah, everybody's already done that. They wouldn't even contact support until they've already tried that. And I've done uninstalled the game, reinstalled the game. Uninstalled the game, cleaned my registry, and reinstalled. Wow, that was bad. I've uninstalled the game, cleaned the registry out, reinstalled the game. No luck. I've uninstalled Windows, reformatted the drive, reinstalled a fresh copy of Windows, reinstalled the game. Still have the same problem. So the problems are not on the player's end. No matter how hard they try to push that, oh yeah, it must be your fault because we couldn't possibly have done anything wrong. Which just gets annoying after a while, after over a year of dealing with it and them constantly saying, oh yeah, it must be your problem. Despite the fact that there's 1,000 other players in their forums with the exact same problem. And everybody's running different configurations, everybody's running different software, yet they still have the exact same problem, and the only thing in common is the game. So it's extremely poorly programmed. There's lots of little bugs in it. Sadly, it's really fun and addicting, and it's probably one of the best racing games out there right now. I'm sure I'll get a lot of flack for that, but in my opinion it is. There's games that excel better at one thing or another, but nothing that's as good at everything as this one is. So despite my ranting, I still love the game. And that's pretty much it as far as my complaints about the game go. There's still some coding issues, again, bad programming, that prevent you from playing multiple players on a network. Me and my son on our network together can play just fine. I can play with my friends online just fine. If I try to play with my son and a friend from online, one of us cannot get in the group. You can either play with people online or people on the network, but yeah, any combination of that, one person always gets left out. And I'm not sure if that's due to our one friend we've been trying to play with online doesn't have Wild Run. And when Wild Run came out, they did fix some of the networking issues, and the little NAT profiler thing they have on the title screen of the game went from being moderate to being open. And we haven't had any issues between the two of us here on the network since, but my friend doesn't have that, so his is still listed as moderate. So I'm not sure if that's the issue. I gotta find somebody else who has an open one from Wild Run and see if that takes care of the issue. But still, it's common sense stuff. Networking issues between network and online players should have been all ironed out before the game even came out. I mean, it's pretty much basic stuff for an online game. And oh man, gotta pay more attention to what I'm doing. But anyway, yeah, it's just a silly bug to still have, especially after a year of the game being out. They still haven't ironed out simple networking issues. I really wish the game was published by someone other than Ubisoft. They kind of have a record of doing this sort of crap with their games, so there's that. But you take what you can get. The game is still a lot of fun, and I enjoy playing it despite all its flaws. The only other real complaint I'd have to say I have about the game is the weather. What we're seeing right now, it's totally not raining. Hasn't been raining this whole time here, yet the roads are still soaked, slippery. They added the rain effect with Wild Run in the graphic overhaul, and they absolutely are very proud of it. So they try to use it as often as possible, which gets really annoying, especially when you're out in the west, out in the middle of the Nevada desert or Death Valley, and it rains constantly out there. It gets a little ridiculous at times. And then when it does stop raining, it literally takes hours for the roads to dry. And by the time the roads are dry, if they dry at all, it starts raining again and they get wet again. It's a cool effect, but we don't need to see it all the time. They need to work on how often the weather comes. Anyway, we're just about to reach our destination here, despite a couple accidents along the way. You can see how scaled down the map is. That was pretty much the whole East Coast from New York City down. And it's still fun. I love just logging in and basically cruising like that. I drive all over the place. I'm actually trying to hit a goal with this car right now, reaching 5,000 miles, but I keep using my other cars because I enjoy them so much, so I never get this one up. And that was part of why I wanted to do this video, but I also wanted to rant a little bit about things that annoy me. Overall, though, the game is fun. It's got a lot to do in it. I mean, the blinking things on here are just basic challenges and stuff that are up right now. You can bring up, those are all the different story missions across the country. Those are the current summon events. Those are all the skill challenges. And you have all the exploration points. There's all the faction and PvP missions. And just a ton of things to do to keep it up. Right now, I'm in the middle of trying to get all of these challenges here platinum. I see what I missed. I thought I'd gotten the entire Midwest here, but I'm looking like I'm missing one right there. And then we're moving over to the East Coast. That's the one I'm working on currently to get all those platinums. And that's taken me over a year to get what I've done of those. Plus, I'm collecting cars and everything, competing in the summit and things like that on top of everything. So it does add up. But there's always so much to do, even if you're by yourself. It is a lot more fun to play with friends, especially if you can just get a couple of you together, pick a point out in the middle of nowhere, and just drive cross country. Is always a blast to do. I met up one day with a bunch of guys in Salt Lake City, just random players, and we took out some Subarus and just basically drifted around on the icy roads. And we did that for a long time, just hanging out and driving around, no real goal. And that's part of the joy of the game, I think. It's fun to do that kind of stuff. On top of having all your options for races and things. Really hope that they put some effort into fixing some of these bugs, though, before they bother with another expansion. Haven't heard any word of another expansion, so maybe they're finally dedicating time and effort to fixing some things before they add anything new. Don't mind them adding more cars, things like that don't take a lot of effort for them to add. So that much doesn't bother me. It's the big content updates and things. I would rather have them working on fixing bugs than adding more as far as that goes. But anyway, that's kind of my thoughts on the crew. It is currently my favorite game. It's my most played. And again, as I've said before, it's just there's so much to do. It's fun despite its problems. I think any other game out there, if it had half the problems this does, I wouldn't find it fun. So that's gotta stand for something. Oh, gonna miss. Oh, that was close. This road is amazingly fun to drive down, by the way. Down here in the Florida Keys. Anyway, that's it for this video, and if you'd like to see more, if there's any kind of specific cars or specs you want to see, let me know in the comments. If there's any other games you want me to try out, let me know that as well. And if you're interested in help supporting the channel to help me buy things like a new mic or new games to review or a new camera that I'm working on saving up for my other videos, go ahead and there's a support button right there on the channel. You can hit that. You can donate however much you want. And everything goes to help out the channel. And if you're interested in that, I thank you ahead of time and appreciate any support you can give. Anyway, until next time, have fun playing whatever you're playing, and we'll see you in the next video.